It's 2 o'clock in the morning, the house is dead silent, and you are staring down at your dog, watching the gentle rise and fall of their chest as they drift through the deep cycles of mammalian sleep. For decades, human arrogance led us to believe that our pets lived entirely in an ephemeral, disconnected present, reacting only to the immediate stimuli of the ticking second. We assumed their minds were simple slates, wiped clean by the passage of hours. You might look at your dog right now and assume they only care about their next meal or the next toss of a tennis ball, completely oblivious to the weight of the past. You would be entirely wrong. What is happening inside that sleeping brain is not a void of temporary impulses, but the active processing of a highly sophisticated biological archive. Your dog's mind functions as an extraordinary cognitive vault, capable of holding on to specific sensory milestones across an entire lifetime. By the time the sun rises, you will realize that their devotion to you is not just a daily habit, but the result of 16 deeply etched archives that shape their entire reality, creating a mental landscape that makes forgetting you completely impossible. To truly decode this internal filing system, we have to look past the surface behaviors and examine the profound sensory imprinting operating beneath that fur. The very first thing your dog will never, under any circumstances, forget is the hyper-specific, microscopic scent profile of their mother and litter mates. Research from evolutionary biologists confirms that during their earliest neonatal days, when their eyes are still sealed shut, this chemical signature is permanently branded into their olfactory bulb. This biological blueprint remains intact through adulthood, explaining why a rescue dog can catch a stray trace of a long-lost sibling years later and experience an instantaneous shift in posture and recognition. Flowing directly from this primal imprint is the second thing they never forget: the monumental high-stress threshold moment when you first brought them home. The sudden transition from the chaotic, high-decibel environment of a shelter or kennel to the quiet, unfamiliar acoustics of your living room represents a seismic shift in their reality, mapping the exact spatial coordinates of your front door into their hippocampus as the definitive boundary where their new life began. As your dog integrates into your daily life, their acute survival mechanics begin archiving the subtle environmental rhythms of your household, leading directly to the third thing they never forget, which is the exact sonic signature of your specific car engine or your distinct footwear cadence clicking against the pavement outside. Long before you can even reach for the doorknob, their auditory cortex has isolated your unique acoustic frequency from the background noise of the entire neighborhood, filing it away as the baseline soundtrack of their safety. This hyper-vigilant tracking naturally extends to their search for resources, cementing the fourth thing they never forget: the high-value dopamine breakthrough of the very first piece of illicit human food they ever managed to snatch from the kitchen floor. Whether it was a dropped piece of cheese or a rogue scrap of meat, the resulting neurochemical spike was so intense that it permanently branded the exact floor tile and the precise angle of the counter into their spatial memory, ensuring they check that exact spot with unwavering optimism for the rest of their days. Right alongside this culinary archive sits the fifth thing they will never forget, which is the tactile familiarity of the first soft blanket or plush bed they claimed as their personal sanctuary. Even if that original bed is threadbare and long replaced by luxurious modern alternatives, your dog retains an emotional attachment to the textural memory of that initial comfort zone, seeking out similar fabrics whenever they need emotional reassurance. Moving deeper into their emotional architecture, the sixth thing your dog never forgets is the precise pitch, inflection, and cadence of your voice when you are expressing genuine disappointment versus the soaring tenor of your unbridled praise. Dogs do not process human language through abstract dictionary definitions. They decode the emotional resonance and acoustic waveforms of your speech, filing away the exact frequencies of your vocal frustration so they can accurately predict your emotional climate before you even cross the room. This linguistic and emotional intelligence feeds straight into the seventh thing they never forget, which is the intricate, turn-by-turn cognitive map of their neighborhood walking route. They remember every single tree where a rival animal left a scent message, every yard where a friendly neighbor keeps treats behind a gate, and every storm drain that echoes strangely in the wind, reacting with sharp alertness if a single trash bin or construction cone is shifted out of its usual place along the path. However, this profound capacity for memory means they also archive the negative spaces of their world, leading to the eighth thing they never forget: the lingering, visceral imprint of the veterinary clinic examination table. The sterile, sharp smell of isopropyl alcohol combined with the cold, slick surface of stainless steel triggers an immediate physiological adrenaline spike in their system, because their associative memory links that precise sensory combination to vulnerability, ensuring they recognize the clinic's parking lot long before you turn off the ignition. Closely linked to this sense of survival is the ninth thing they never forget, which is the scent profile and silhouette of a specific territorial threat or rival animal encountered months ago on a morning walk. If an aggressive dog lunged at them across a fence a year prior, your dog will remember the exact property line and tense their muscles preemptively the moment they approach that same stretch of sidewalk, proving their mind holds onto grudges solely to protect their physical safety. The 10th thing your dog never forgets is the profound, heavy psychological weight of a long separation, where they track the agonizingly slow decay of your scent molecules evaporating from the air of an empty room to gauge the precise passage of time while you are away. This acute awareness of your absence explains why the 11th thing they never forget is the face, posture, and gentle hands of a stranger or a neighbor who offered them extra comfort or a kind word during a moment of intense vulnerability when you were briefly out of reach. Their capacity to remember benign human kindness operates with the same intensity as their defensive instincts, allowing them to instantly reclassify a previously feared human into a lifelong friend based on a single shared moment of calm communication. This brings us to the 12th thing they never forget, which is the kinetic thrill and sensory explosion of their very first real car ride with the window rolled down. The rush of wind speed forcing back their jowls and the overwhelming fire hose of 10,000 passing cents permanently conditions their motor cortex to associate vehicular motion with absolute, unadulterated freedom. Flowing naturally from this kinetic memory is the 13th thing they never forget, which is the exact physical gesture, hand signal, or subtle postural cue associated with their foundational training. Etched into their procedural memory through thousands of repetitions, your slight hand movement or shift in body weight communicates intention faster and more reliably than any spoken word, forming a silent language shared only between the two of you. The 14th thing they never forget is the distinct taste and physical relief of cold water from a specific bowl or stream after a grueling, hot summer afternoon hike, a physiological milestone of survival and refreshment that their brain categorizes as a peak experience. This brings us to the 15th thing they never forget, which is the overwhelming, intoxicating neurochemical flood of your reunion after a multi-day absence. When you walk back through that door, their brain releases a tidal wave of oxytocin and dopamine that momentarily rewires their nervous system into a state of ecstatic delirium, a feeling they lock away as the gold standard of their emotional existence. Yet, as a caretaker, you must remain hypervigilant because the breakdown of these deeply ingrained memories is often the earliest warning sign of a hidden medical crisis. Drop the music energy and listen closely. If your dog suddenly seems to forget these long-established routines, or if they suddenly stop sleeping beside you at night, It is never a random choice. There are two urgent red flag health warnings you must consider immediately. First, a sudden reluctance to jump up onto the bed or a sudden avoidance of their favorite walking route is very frequently the earliest detectable sign of osteoarthritis or spinal discomfort that your dog is actively trying to hide during the day. Second, and perhaps more heartbreaking, is the onset of canine cognitive dysfunction, commonly known as dog dementia, which affects roughly 35% of dogs over the age of 8. This condition systematically destroys their spatial memory, making them forget the layout of the kitchen or why they are standing in a corner, while completely disrupting their internal circadian rhythms and leaving them pacing, confused, and disoriented in the dark. Paying close attention to whether they still remember their daily rituals is not just about observing their intelligence. It is one of the most vital diagnostic tools you have to protect them from silent suffering. When you look down tonight at that heavy, breathing shape occupying the mattress, the entire image shifts into focus, bringing us to the 16th and most sacred thing your dog will never forget: the quiet, immovable reassurance of pressing their spine against yours in the dead of night. It is an immutable archive of absolute peace that transcends time, biology, and instinct, proving that while your dog lives in a world driven by fleeting moments, your presence remains the permanent, unforgettable anchor of their soul. They did not end up in your life or your bed by accident. They chose you out of every person, every smell, and every option available to them on this planet. Drop a comment below and tell me, what percentage of the bed does your dog take up tonight, and which of these 16 memories do you see them acting out the most? And if you think their capacity to remember your bond is profound, wait until you discover the mind-bending neuroscience behind why your dog stares directly into your eyes while they eat, which reveals an even deeper secret about how they view your role as their protector.